What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Cloudology channel. It's been a little while since I actually did a live stream. Last couple of videos have been a video, but so I'm sure you clicked on this video for the very clickbaity title that I left for you guys. So FTX, well, not just FTX specifically. We're talking more about crypto exchanges, right? And how they obviously pose a potential issue for crypto in general or Web3, whatever the case may be. So, if you're not up to speed with the FTX stuff by now, so let me just give you a brief overview. Essentially, the crypto exchange FTX, which you've probably heard of, even if you're not super into crypto, because quite frankly, that name has been plastered everywhere, along with Sam Bankman-Fried's name. Um, Essentially, the exchange went insolvent, which essentially means they didn't have enough money to pay back um, what their holders held on the exchange, or what their investors had, right? So it was a gross mismanagement of funds. They didn't have Somebody came knocking for their money and they didn't have it, and they couldn't pay it back, so now they're insolvent, right? So it caused a ripple effect amongst other, Web3 projects and all types of exchanges, and also the financial market in general. What up to Get Money Coding? Cryptos. What are the cryptos? With a little ear. So I wanted to talk about. A lot of people say now that these exchanges are falling. I mean, we saw, Kraken just the other day, or just today, I think, announced that they're cutting 30% of their workforce, which is like 1,100 people, um, when they just ramped up in hiring not too long ago. So they ramped up all this hiring and then immediately laid all those people off. We're seeing that across tech in general, and mostly the FANG companies. So we're seeing, Meta, we're seeing Twitter, obviously, we're seeing, a whole bunch of people and companies laying off their people, and they're probably over leveraged when it comes to talent, or lack thereof, whatever you think is going on there. But so a lot of people say, okay, well, all these exchanges are going down, it's not really safe, and you shouldn't keep your crypto on there, which I agree, absolutely. Self-custody your crypto, for the love of God. Self-custody your crypto. But what I also noticed, a lot of people are saying, hey, this is why DeFi is a better solution for this. Which, I mean, they're not wrong in some parts. They're not wrong. So DeFi, if you're not familiar, decentralized finance is essentially a permissionless exchange, an anonymous exchange, if you will. It's only tied to a wallet address, essentially. On the surface, on the surface, it's only tied to a wallet address. And not to disparage anybody from using them, but there are actual dexes that don't collect a bunch of info from you or transaction data. But I mean, it's all on the blockchain anyway, right? So a lot of people are saying that decentralized finance is the way to go, decentralized applications is the way to go. And I agree with them on one point, that they are better than centralized exchanges somewhat. But what a lot of people don't understand, and I don't think anyone in the crypto space, apart from people who work in it or people who are heavily invested in or maybe contributing to open source projects, understand, is that these things are not decentralized. These things are not decentralized at all. They're not even close. Um, and I actually have a little bit of proof to show you that. Now, this could mean not decentralized from like an infrastructure standpoint, where their infrastructure is hosted, which I would argue all of them are not decentralized in that aspect, or not decentralized financially. So, there's a giant master account that somebody has access to that can pretty much move funds around as they please. There's a treasury account or something like that, or treasury wallet, where that money can be moved to anybody, right? Like, for example, Solana, they took a huge hit because of FTX going down, because FTX was heavily invested in Solana, and vice versa, I'm sure. And even the wrapped price, or the wrapped BTC price, completely tanked. It's now worth like $1,000. It's not even worth, it's not even pegged to the BTC price anymore, because all of that money was collateralized by FTX, and we saw what happened there. So Solana also, I believe they have their own DEX. But with that being said, these decentralized platforms probably aren't financially decentralized either, or whatever runs their operating system. Most Web3 applications and Web3 projects and dexes run off of their own token or their own. They run off of their own. What's the word? Um, yeah, they run off of their own token, and like I said, somebody has the keys to that wallet. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Bitcoin where um, Bitcoin was distributed and it's mined by miners. So proof of stake specifically, this is what I wanted to get into. This is what it reminded me of. So proof of stake typically acts as, it has some type of validator or some type of nominator validator dynamic. So basically what that means is that a lot of people put up their coins that they own and they validate transactions, right? So they put up a large amount, like even Ethereum is now proof of stake. So you have 32 Ethereum that you need to actually stake or to become a validator on Ethereum, right? That's a lot of money. Even now, I mean, it's what, like $32,000. Man, I don't know about you. I don't have that just chilling in my wallet. You know what I mean? But so that is another point of centralization as well. So you have all of these people who um, are basically whales of whatever ecosystem. Choose your ecosystem, that are putting up their tokens so they can validate transactions or not, right? So I mean, I've personally seen problems with that. I somewhat work in the Web3 space, almost on a day-to-day basis, and it is very it's a very complex process on how that validation stuff actually works behind the scenes. It's not as simple as like mining. And a lot of times, some of those validators are hosted on cloud platforms. Most of the time, they're hosted on cloud platforms because if they weren't, they wouldn't be as scalable, they wouldn't be as fast, and they certainly wouldn't be as available to everyone in the world. And it's just a realization that I'm not saying this is necessarily a completely bad thing, but just be wary of Web3 companies trying to sell you decentralization. You'll hear it all the time. You'll hear all these dApps like 100% completely decentralized. They're not. They're trying to sell you something. They're lying to you. It's not decentralized. I promise you it's not. And I know I'm going to sound like a Bitcoin maxi when I say this, but Bitcoin is really the most decentralized cryptocurrency. Ethereum is still relatively decentralized, but when it comes to actual, as close as you can get to true decentralizations, it's Bitcoin, man. It really is. I hate to say it because like I work in the Web3 space and Bitcoin's not going to facilitate Web3. Let's just be honest with that, but it wasn't designed to either. Get money coding. Crypto banked off of retail's ignorance. Techie buzzwords and good marketing teams got a lot of people wrecked. Absolutely. Absolutely, they got a lot of people wrecked. It's because people don't know. People don't do the research into this stuff. It takes a lot of time, and I get it. Y'all got busy lives. I got a busy life too. I just so happen to work on this side of the spectrum, so I'm a little bit more tuned in than your average guy, right? So, with that being said, I kind of want to get into another aspect of how Web3 and decentralized exchanges aren't actually decentralized. So, we all remember it. Maybe you don't. It popped in and out in the media rather quickly, but the whole Tornado Cash situation, right? So the United States government decided, hey, we don't like this entity, because money laundering, whatever the case may be. So basically what they did is they sanctioned it. And, apparently that word has some type of like value or whatever anymore. But basically, it means that the United States people are not allowed to utilize that platform. And a lot of the United States based companies, like, whatever Tornado Cash was hosted on, I don't know if it was hosted on cloud, on AWS or Google or whatever. I'm assuming it was because it got taken down pretty much immediately. And their code got taken off of GitHub. Well, let me tell you something. Pretty much every decentralized exchange hosts all of their code on GitHub. For example, we've got the biggest exchange, decentralized exchange ever. Good old Uniswap. Look, all of their infrastructure and all of their code is right here. It's all right here. So, I mean, GitHub could decide that Uniswap is bad one day, and then they just take it down, and then Uniswap's gone. They lost their code base. Now, granted, they could have backups somewhere else, or whatever the case may be. They can always host it somewhere else, but we know this is like an organization. They're not going to be able to just, dynamically move their stuff around all over the place, right? So, how do I know some of these companies are hosted on the cloud? Well, I happen to know an exchange, and you guys might know this exchange too. It's called CalSwap. It's basically an exact replica of Uniswap. But I was digging around in their code not too long ago, and I wanted to show you guys this. Let me zoom in here for you guys. This is the wrong keyboard. Sorry, guys. I'm connected to the wrong computer here. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit for y'all, and then I'll expand this. So if you watched my last video about CI/CD, you'll understand a little bit about what's going on here. Basically, this is their continuous integration part. This is the same thing I did on my last example in my last video, right? So I used the same thing. I used GitHub Actions to basically test my code and deploy a new revision, right? So a lot of this stuff is just environment variables for, various React things. And here you're checking out your code, you're setting up your environment, you're setting up your dependencies, you're doing your tests, but you're doing your linting to make sure it looks good, normal stuff you would see in any type of major or even not major infrastructure, right? So as we get down here, this is kind of where it gets interesting. So if we go down to past all the prod deployments, the actual deployment step, right? I don't know if you guys can see this, but what is this? What is this? This isn't a secret, guys. Anybody can go and look at this. Like, I'm not exposing CalSwap. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure Uniswap's doing the same thing under the hood. But what is this step in the continuous integration setup say? It says configure AWS credentials. So what are they doing? They're passing in their access key ID and secret access key. So some org AWS account information. They're giving it to GitHub Actions as an environment variable in the region they want to deploy it in, and then they're deploying it to S3. All of these decentralized exchanges are doing this, guys. All of them are doing it. I promise you they're all doing it. Unless they're like some like really extremely low volume exchanges and they're hosting it on their own machines. They're all doing this, all of them. And I'm not saying this to deter you. I'm saying this to understand what you're getting yourself into. Understand when you're yield farming or, adding stuff to a liquidity pool, all of this stuff is centralized. All of this stuff can go away overnight. Literally, we saw it with FTX. We saw it with Celsius. We saw it with there's probably another one that I'm missing. We saw it with, the Phantom Network for you super degens over there. We saw it happen over and over and over again. And it's going to happen because all of this stuff can easily be taken off of the internet forever. Like, it's easy. So realistically, if we want true decentralization of cryptocurrency, one, we got to stick with Bitcoin, which, has its own problems. It's not like a extremely scalable network, and I understand that. Get money coding, decentralized in name only. Exactly, dude. Exactly. These guys are they're only throwing buzzwords at you guys. That's it. Because everyone in crypto wants to hear decentralized, because again, Bitcoin kind of like coined that whole thing. But I digress. Anyone trying to sell you decentralization on Web3 is lying to you. 100% lying to you. So the solutions. So in my opinion, there are a couple things we can do for solutions to this problem, right? We could, spread our Web3 application. If we want the same scalability, the same availability, the same speed of transactions, and the same speed of deployments and stuff like that, we could spread our code base across multiple cloud platforms and be multi-cloud. Problem with that is it's extremely expensive. Even I am for one to say that it is too expensive for most Web3 companies to just fork out. You know what I mean? I know there might be millions or even billions of dollars on some of these, or invested in some of these exchanges, but cloud bills get expensive, guys. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on one cloud platform. Now, imagine that spread out between AWS, GCP, Microsoft Azure, Oracle Cloud, and Cloudflare. It's going to be astronomical. You're going to be paying like close to $1 million plus a month, dude. It's just not sustainable. Like, unless you have this huge enterprise like level Web3 application, right? So probably not very feasible for most Web3 companies. Maybe the bigger exchanges during a bull market can pull it off and it'd be no problem, right? But during a bear market, what are they going to do? Scale back down and then become equally as vulnerable as they were during the last bear market? Probably not a good idea. So another solution is we slow everything down and we actually make it decentralized, and we have people running, servers across the world. We kind of make it like Bitcoin's network. One, we get rid of proof of stake, which nobody's going to like that, because now everybody in Web3 is used to this like fast, instantaneous stuff. Oh, dude, all of that is facilitated by cloud infrastructure, all of it. Like, you're not going to get that level of like fast transactions across the entire world that quickly. I mean, look how long it takes for Bitcoin to confirm transactions in a bear market. It still takes like 20, 30 minutes. You're talking block confirmations that happen within seconds of submitting the transaction. That's not going to be possible in a proof of work type setup. It's just not going to happen. There's a lot of confirmations that need to happen before that. So it is a solution. I think it's the better solution. Yeah, it's going to be slower. It's not going to be as fast as, Visa, as, or not FTX, Solana claimed to be. Look how that turned out. I'm not saying they can't come back. They'll probably come back from it. But so, I mean, really the solution is to understand the current limitations. Honestly, I think Web3 in general is just, it expanded a little bit too fast, and it's now facing its contraction. It was in a bubble, but I mean, as far as from a technological standpoint, right? So essentially we had all this demand and we wanted to solve those demand problems as easy as we possibly could. And obviously that was facilitated through cloud platforms, because that's pretty much the fastest way to do things right now. Some really high speed on-prem, setups could probably do it, but companies invested millions, if not billions of dollars into those servers to run that well. And then they have to hire people to secure those servers and run those servers. So you're looking at paying more salaries as well. But it is possible. I'm for it. I say do it. I say if these decentralized exchanges really want to be decentralized, they're going to have to find a way to give the ability for these validators to be decentralized. But then, you have even more problems with that. How do you ensure, latency, for example? How do you ensure that transactions are getting processed at the same time? How do you make sure that the blockchain is synced between all validators? So there's a lot of things to take into account that aren't necessarily solvable right now. I'm not saying they're not going to be solvable. I'm sure a lot of people are going to put in a lot of work to solve this problem, because we're going to see this over and over and over again. We're going to see these crypto companies, we're going to see these decentralized exchanges, go insolvent. We're going to see these centralized exchanges go insolvent. It's going to happen because people are going to expand outside of their capability. They're going to get to a point, they're going to say, oh shit, we spent way too much money and now we have none. And now it's a bear market, and it's going to happen again, guys. This stuff's just going to happen in cycles until we start figuring this stuff out a little bit better. This is an extremely new technology, especially decentralized apps, and Web3 in general is extremely new. Like, granted, Ethereum has been around for quite a while, but we really only got to the height of it this last bull market. So, the 2018, 2019 is when all these dApps were coming out and NFTs were a thing, and we're just figuring this stuff out, guys. So I am optimistic for the future when it comes to Web3 and crypto in general, but understand what you're getting into. That's really the message I want you to walk with today. Not that I'm never going to touch crypto again. Please do. It can make you very wealthy very quickly, but just understand what you're getting into. Understand how this stuff works just a little bit. Look into it. Like, literally, I know everybody says it, do your own research, but if you really want to know about Web3, and like, okay, this, you see a Web3 project that's like true decentralization, and then you go through their code base and you find this, that's not true decentralization, in my opinion. You're using a centralized cloud platform to host your infrastructure. That's not decentralized. I mean, financially you might be decentralized, but it's not really decentralization, guys. Get money coding, LMAO, Web3 equals AWS. You're right. I think it's still like 70% of Web3 apps are in AWS still. And I happen to know GCP is creeping up on those numbers as well through personal experience. But with that being said, that's a good segue. So Get Money Coding here, this guy right below me, he's got a pretty cool thing going on right now. And if you're interested in this, tech, the IT space, or, web development or cloud in general, you really need to hit up this website, because even if you don't know anything, even if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now, I highly, highly recommend you go to this website, you sign up for this monthly coaching, and get access to not only Fido, who will help you build your web development portfolio and help you become a web developer and get money coding, hence the name, but you also have access to me. And I've got a couple things in the works to get people transitioned from software development into cloud, because I like cloud. I think a lot of people would like it if there's more information about cloud in general. And so that's why I'm out here. So 59 spots left to get your spot in here. I believe it is $200 a month, but you have direct access to both me and Fido. I literally have the notifications on my phone for that Discord on all the time. I see everyone posting in there. And if you ask me or Fido a question, or just ask a question to the chat in general, I can answer that question for you. So I don't have anything formally right now. However, that's going to change very soon. And you can get access earlier if you sign up to Fido's Get Money Coding monthly coaching. And the link for that is in the description. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put this link in my chat right now so you can check that out. So with that being said, back to the real topic of discussion. So what's the way forward? Do we just say, you know what, screw centralized exchanges, we're just going to use DeFi only from now on? Unfortunately, no. As much as I would like for that to happen, it's not going to happen anytime soon. So centralized exchanges are, some of them are going down, right? Because they don't have, they're insolvent. They don't have the money. Imagine the amount of users on a decentralized exchange is probably not even half of what is on a centralized exchange, right? So imagine how insolvent some of these decentralized exchanges are. Like, granted, some of them probably aren't. Maybe some of them know the crypto space pretty well. Like, Uniswap's probably not insolvent, but we really don't know. It's a little bit more transparent with their liquidity pool stuff and stuff like that. But realistically, there's no way of knowing how insolvent decentralized exchanges really are until people just stop using the platform, right? And we saw that happen with Phantom. Literally, like, one bad tweet or Discord message brought down an entire ecosystem, dog. Like, literally all it takes is for people to just completely lose faith in some of this stuff, But we're going to go through this kind of stuff when it comes to decentralized, quote unquote, decentralized finance. And that's another thing. So I know I showed you guys like CalSwap's code base. Well, not code base, but basically their continuous integration, right? Uniswap, they don't really have any of their infrastructure stuff on here. So I'm just looking at their interface. I didn't really dig into all these repos, to be honest with you. But if we go to the same, so a lot of these companies are still using GitHub Actions. It's a great thing to do. I love GitHub Actions as well. But you can see they don't really have a ton of actions going on here. So they don't have So you got a couple workflows here. You got some crowd in sync. I don't really know what that is off the top of my head, but I guarantee on some level, Uniswap still runs probably AWS under the hood. Like this stuff, this infrastructure that hosts all this stuff is not just, hosted in someone's mom's basement. You know what I mean? I guarantee this stuff's hosted in the cloud. Um, and a lot of these things are. And again, not inherently a bad thing. It's really not. But just be wary of what you guys are getting into. Like that's the one thing I want to stress is just be wary. Custody, self-custody your own crypto for the love of God. Get a Trezor, get a Ledger, and keep your crypto with you. Like I get it if you want to yield farm, but I mean, not financial advice. If you want to do it, like put some money on there that you don't really care about. You know what I mean? Like don't get pulled into this degen stuff. But I wanted to make this stream because I wanted to give you guys some background into how some of this stuff works from a technical side. Like, trust me, these companies are using the cloud to deploy their stuff. Absolutely. We saw that with CalSwap, but this way you can go in and make an informed decision. You can make an informed decision about like, okay, like I know the company is trying to sell me on decentralization, but they're not really decentralized. So I'm going to just keep that in mind as I operate inside of this ecosystem and, kind of look for the warning signs. You know what I mean? So by all means, continue to use DeFi, continue to use Web3, continue to use Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever. Make your money. I'm no one to tell you how to make or not make your own money or lose your own money, right? I just want you to understand it from a technical standpoint at the base level. Go on to these GitHubs. Go on to GitHub and search for your favorite DeFi project. I guarantee they're on there, and just poke around in their code. Even if you don't really know what the hell you're looking at, talk to somebody that does. Hit me up. As a matter of fact, hit me up. Shoot me an email. Hit me up in Telegram. Be like, yo, can you look into this like decentralized exchange? Because I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. I'll gladly take a look at it for you. Because one, I get to make another video like this calling out an exchange for selling decentralization and not being decentralized, even though I didn't really call anybody out here. But if you don't understand it, give it to someone that does understand it. Send it to Cody@cloudology.dev. I'll gladly look into it for you and, give you an overview, make a quick, short. Maybe I'll make a short on the channel and be like, hey, this is why this isn't decentralized like they're trying to tell you. But with that being said, guys, trade carefully out here in this crypto space. Don't worry, we're going to be back. It's going to come back. It's not all going to zero. I promise you it's not. The cat's out of the bag now, guys. Like, people know there's billions of dollars to be made here. So with that being said, if you like this video, if you like this live stream, hit the like button, leave me a comment, hit me up on Instagram, hit me up in Telegram, shoot me an email, whatever the case may be, write me some snail mail. I don't care. But you guys have a great night. I'll see you guys. Actually, I won't see you guys next week. I'm not going to have a video out next week. I'm going to be gone. But after that, I'm going to come back with some fire, and I'll see you guys then. Have a good one.